What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing another mock draft. This is going to be mock draft 2.0 with trades, and again, this is going to be spanning 2 rounds, so make sure to check back another day because we're going to be doing round 2 separately from this video. Of course, if you guys are new, like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun YouTube jazz. Join the Discord because just last night I hung out with a lot of you guys in a voice chat. We got to do some tape study. It's just really fun being able to talk with you guys, so shout out to the community because it is awesome. Love to talk to you guys there. Of course, feel free to have that good football discourse down in the comments section. Remember, always be willing to give criticism, but don't be a dick about it. Let's get right into the video. Let's have some fun. Again, if you guys see me looking right here, for the people who are used to me looking right down at a computer or a laptop screen, it's because I upgraded. I wanted to make sure that I had the best equipment for you guys and was actually able to produce higher quality stuff. So here you go. Rather than using Zoom and using a good old little Mac laptop, we're actually using like a badass PC. Let's get right into it. So according to the current draft order, the Detroit Lions are at the #1 spot. So here's an issue I have. I don't know if I'm willing to take CJ Stroud or Bryce Young at #1. That's just me. And I know a couple teams that are willing to. Here's the only concern I have. I do feel like quarterback is something that we should address. So let's analyze the team really quick. Obviously, can't do this for every single one, or else it's going to be a 10-hour video. But when you look at it, quarterback, obviously on the offensive side, that's the biggest concern. Running back, I think, is pretty much solved long-term. I love DeAndre Swift. Offensive line looks great. Again, I love the offensive line. Ragnow, I want to say Taylor Lewan. Obviously, Penei Sewell's in there, as well as Taylor Decker. So those are like 3 huge cornerstone pieces. And to me, I think you can just plug in non-tomato cans at the guard spots and you're perfectly fine. Now, doesn't mean you can't address that, but this is definitely never in the consideration. Quarterback is. Tight end, receiving weapons, I think you're perfectly fine. You could, again, get somebody else, like maybe a true #1, but again, not in consideration for this pick. Defensively, we need some help. Linebacker, definitely something I want to address. Safety, definitely something I want to address. Corner, potentially something I want to address. So, I mean, hell, defensive tackle. So my idea was, let's look at where our second pick is, and I believe it's going to be around 20, and it is. So at 20, who's going to be available? Is it going to be available for someone like Will Levis to be there? And if that's the case, hell yes, I'm pulling that trigger. Or do I want to wait and get someone like Tanner McKee? Because honestly, I think that there's so many holes that we could trade back and be able to get some Panthers picks for them to be able to select the quarterback that they want. And you could end up with Jalen Carter. I think that might be the better move overall. Again, you have Bryce. He has size/injury concerns, even though I think he's a god. CJ's inconsistent. You see it on tape. He has the best receiving core in college, like pretty hands down. And then, like, Will Levis has decision-making issues. So, to me, I personally am going to trade out of this spot. If you do have the #1 spot, you should trade out of it. And you guys are going to see me direct my vision over here because for once, I've been promising y'all this. I'm going to use a draft value chart. Of course, I used to do this all the time, but it's been a long time since we valued all the picks. So, of course, at the #1 overall pick, it's graded about 3,000 points, and I'm looking to trade right now with a team that just acquired a ton of draft capital for a running back, which I thought was a great move, especially for the Panthers. So, for the Panthers, you are at pick #3. That pick is going to be 800 points less, which is a significant margin. Again, that is a significant margin. To put it in perspective, the number 32 overall pick, which the Lions also have, is graded out at 580 points. So you'd have to at least give up the second or their second round pick. Like that's going to be about 550 points. It's a very steep trade, and I want to see. So obviously, I'm very happy to see this, but they're willing to offer this. Obviously, it's lopsided, but you have 2 second-round picks, which means you should at least use one of them. I don't know how many more pieces this team genuinely needs. So, obviously, I'm going to toss in 43. We look at the value chart over here. Obviously, I know I don't pull it up for you guys because that is going to be a bitch to be able to animate all that stuff. But, again, it's literally, I tell you guys everything. Don't worry about it. 470 points. So, we're about halfway there. And you do look back here. I think that, again, you have a plethora of draft capital. I think a next year third and then another pick here. You don't need that many pieces. Again, I thoroughly believe this team is very close to getting to the promised land. I think that's going to be the best case scenario for you guys. Again, So we're looking at it. Round 3 next year is approximately worth how many points? It's probably worth a little bit, about 200 more points, and then that it's roughly about the value, roughly. Like what we'll toss in the San Francisco 5th round pick in here, and of course I gotta look for the trade offer. So I think that's a pretty fair offer. I think the Lions have a lot of issues. You can plug in a lot of different guys there. Again, this is a really deep class. I think it's a very good option. And again, guess what? It's kind of a free trade for you guys. Carolina's like, okay, we're giving up a second, we're giving up a next year third, we're giving up a couple other picks to be able to select the quarterback that we want. I think that's an A-plus move. Again, those are free picks. Christian McCaffrey was never going to be the guy who gets you to the top. He could have been if Baker panned out, but the fact is, I'm not going to be like the guy sitting there being like, okay, well, I'm ready for sloppy seconds. I want to get the guy I want. And if that's the cost, I'm playing with house money right now. Because again, I was trying to fire sale my team anyway. Now my organization gets to choose who they want. I think that's great. And then for the Lions, you're getting the guy who you want anyway. So to me, this has got to be Bryce Young. Again, I know a lot of people are CJ Stroud fans. And I know that I'm already about to get shellacked down in the comment section for not taking CJ number 1. Let's all have different opinions. And first off, so Bryce Young, I think his processing is in a different league. I seriously do. I think that his ability to make a lot with a lot less is on a different level as well. And the fact is, you don't really have to worry about that. You have Laviska Shenault, who I think has had he's had like 100 yards this year, including his like first game where he had like a huge ass touchdown. So he's been pretty much relegated to nothing recently. And that is a depth option for you. Laviska Shenault, who like a couple years ago we were talking about like, okay, yeah, this guy's going to be able to step up and lead the Jaguars. Like that is just one piece. You got DJ Moore in there. Terrace Marshall, like we all forgot about Terrace Marshall. And I was like one of the guys who was a proponent for Terrace Marshall later on than in the first. And I still think he's a baller. So there's a lot of really good weapons here. Again, the offensive line is going to be developing. He's dealt with poor offensive lines as well. So genuinely, I think Bryce is a perfect fit. You guys drafted Matt Corral, and I know there's going to be some Matt Corral fans up in here. He's my high school quarterback. I literally played with Matt Corral. I am one of those people who would love to be like, hey, Matt's the guy. Let's go with Matt. I am not certain about that. And the fact is, I don't want to run the risk. I just, like, if I'm a new organization, the previous one drafted Matt Corral. If somebody wants Matt Corral, hey, we're willing to send him away for a 3rd round pick. Could we do that in this draft? You never know. It's all live. So I think that's a great move. Again, let's continue on here because we've already spent, I think, 7 minutes on the first overall pick. But Bryce Young, I think, is better. I just genuinely, I think that he's going to be a better prospect than CJ Stroud. And it's not that big of a margin, but I think it's one where, especially when I just don't want to take a risk on another Ohio State quarterback after he's pretty much, like, he's been raised with a silver spoon. You have a great offensive line, top-tier running game, arguably the best wide receiver in college right now. He very well might be in Marvin Harrison. And then people were talking about first-round receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba, and he's probably the 3rd best guy on the team. It's really tough to say, hey, I'm going to put you in an organization that's just not fully there yet, and you're going to uplift it. I could be wrong, which is why I still have CJ Stroud number 13 on my board. But there's just something different about Bryce Young and his ability to make more with less. So that's why Bryce Young's there. And of course, the sloppy seconds go to the Texans. And I know Sarah's going to lose her mind, but again, you have to take a shot on a guy who could be a franchise quarterback. You do have some offensive line pieces. There is a lot to love. But again, is it worth to you guys for you guys who are Carolina fans who randomly beat Tom Brady? So holla. To spend some free house money to be able to get a guy like Bryce Young? I think it's fair. I think it's a good idea. But let's move on. This pick right here is pretty easy for me. It is Jalen Carter out of Georgia. Again, just a different level of player. You need to get something to work on in interior. You have Aiden Hutchinson there. You could go Myles Murphy, but I do think in the 2nd round, you could certainly get somebody who is not Myles Murphy, but relatively close to Myles Murphy in that same build compared to what you'd get close to Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter's just in another league. He really is. There's nobody close to him in his position in this draft. He is one of those unicorn players. If he busts out, we don't have very high expectations for this defense anyway, so I'm very excited to see how he could just totally revolutionize this team. Pick number 4, the Eagles. Not again. Oh, for the love of God. I mean, I swear to God I don't do this on purpose. I swear. Like, I swear on my heart. Like, people think I'm an Eagles fan. My best friend's an Eagles fan. Okay, so a former co-host as well. Like, the only reason that people think I'm like a huge fan of the Eagles is because of the fact I know so much about the Eagles. But I hear this guy, so I talk to Keon every single day about the Eagles. So I know them pretty much better than my own team at this point. But obviously, I don't purposely want. I purposely don't want the Eagles to succeed. Like, just because they're a stacked team that could win the Super Bowl and they have the number 4 overall pick. It's just absolute batshit crazy. Tip of my cap to Howie Roseman. Pick number 5 from Cleveland. And actually, Cleveland did a pretty good job this past week versus the Ravens. If you're sitting here, you're the Texans. Honestly, I kind of just want to go after BPA legitimately, and I think Myles Murphy definitely fits that mold. You already got yourself your quarterback. Now you can continue building through the trenches. And I know a lot of people might clamor for, honestly, an offensive lineman because guard isn't solved, and Peter Skoronski can play that guard role until you might want to get rid of Titus Howard or pay him and keep Skoronski as a guard. I think that'd be a pretty wise option if you don't want to go this route. But if I'm going to get the best player on the board, and if you have the number 5 pick, I'm definitely looking in this realm. But here's the thing. I want to look back. I want to see, okay, are any teams desperate to move up for a QB? Because Will Levis is on the board, and you do see the Seahawks here. I don't see it. I don't. I mean, the Raiders would never even, I would never want them to do that. So, personally, I don't think they would. And it's starting to get too pricey for these teams to move up, and I don't really see anybody but Washington really having the balls to do something like that. And at that point, they've already lost a ton of draft capital. So we're going to go Myles Murphy here. We're not going to have too many picks or too many trades in the top 10, but Myles Murphy is an absolute stud. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of him. He's a baller, man. I'm a huge fan of Myles Murphy. Continuing on, we have the number 6 overall pick, which is via Denver. Gotta love it. To the Seattle Seahawks. So, again, you're playing with house money here. This could be a trade back spot. Again, I just don't see anybody trading up for anybody on the board. You have like Peter Skoronski. If a team like the Jaguars is like, okay, I want to have somebody like Peter Skoronski over the Steelers, I could understand that. But I don't really see much of a need to make a move. Again, if you end up losing out on Peter Skoronski, which I might take him for the Steelers, you could just end up getting a really good tackle or trade back and get a good guard if that's what you want. Like, I don't really think you're in a position of high leverage. You can do whatever the hell you want, and I think that's a good place to be. So for me, I think that's where I'm at right there. Again, if you're sitting here, you're the Seahawks, like positions I would like to target, linebacker, not worth it at this pick. Like, let's be 100% here. I know a lot of people would like to take linebacker this spot, but linebacker, corner, I do think you could definitely lock down and have another baller-ass corner. And, this team was pretty much built on a monster defense. And you have Tariq Woolen. Now you can get one more, and then you just pretty much have a no-fly zone. I am totally in the market for that. Defensive interior, this is not my draft board. I'm just going to be honest. I actually have it over there. So I know where I'm going with some of these picks. For me, again, I don't really think offensive line is worth it at this spot, given the fact that, I just don't really think you need it. So when you look at it, you got edge rusher here. And I'm looking at edge and corner. Those are the two positions that are valuable, that are available. And I think that the edge class is super deep. I think the corner class is super deep. But the fact is, I'd be much happier with an edge at the end of the second because you don't have Denver's second. So I'd be happier with a late second edge than a late second corner. And the corners, you're getting corner 1 in this class, so you choose whoever the hell you want. For me, it's down to Keely Ringo, who I think is really damn good. He's tested in the 4-3s as well as Joey Porter, which, again, he's somebody who's more relegated to a zone coverage scheme. I really do think he's very Sauce Gardner-y, but for zone rather than man. But his man coverage has just taken a step up. Is he grabby? Yes. So is Seattle. Seattle likes these corners who could just grip on and just absolutely destroy. And the thing is, Joey Porter's a monster in the run. I'm taking him away from my Steelers, which is a big pain in the ass to me because I love Joey Porter. His dad played for the Steelers. So I'm doing that. I'm doing it because, again, I think it's the best player available. Pick number 7, Steelers are on the board, and I think that's down to offensive tackle or corner, whichever one has the better value. And again, if you're sitting here at number 7, what can you get in the second round for corner? You could probably, I mean, we could also trade up at the end of the second for a tackle. Not really a Steelers thing to do, but I'm looking at the corners here, and I can see myself just absolutely wiping the board clean of a lot of corners. Now, I could also just wipe the board clean of tackles, but I think that I want to go a corner here. I think I do. The Steelers offense, I really do think you have your heart there. I think the team is built and it's ready. So for me, I think I'm very comfortable looking at an option here with like Garrett Williams or Keely Ringo. And I think Ringo could definitely be a really good Steeler. You got to invest pretty high draft capital in somebody of that talent level, high value position at a position of need. I think that's where we're going to go. Pick number 8. Again, this is going to be Peter Skoronski. I think it's a great option for the team. If you can't get a wide receiver that valuable, get a guy who can play guard for you in the short run and tackle. Again, I know Walker Little's there, but I do think it's really good to get Ben Bartch the hell out of there and get a guy like Peter Skoronski who's going to boost your run game, and he's also going to be a great pass protector. Like he, I believe, has a 93.0 PFF grade in pass protection. I believe that might be the highest in college football at the moment. So good for Peter. I watched him this past week, and I think, who did he play against? Northwestern played against somebody. I'm tripping. But I got to see him like versus another tackle. Did they play Penn State? They might not have. They played against somebody. I'm trying to think of who it was, but I watched him in a tackle duel, and he definitely won. He definitely won on that one. So pick number 9. Again, the Raiders. I would love to look at defensive interior. I just don't think that's really worth it, and I think offensive line is paramount. And you guys got Broderick Jones here. I'm going to possibly hold my love for Broderick Jones, and you'll see why. There's going to be a player who I'm going to feature here for the first time, and I think he might be a top 15 lock in the NFL draft. I'm going to call it right now. He is going to get the Jermaine Johnson treatment, but he might be better than Jermaine Johnson. He made Broderick Jones look kind of silly, and we did this tape study last night on the Discord. So again, don't miss out on those because I'm going to do it more often. It was really fun to do it with you guys. So for me, I think the best option would be to look at Javon Foster, Anton Harrison, and I think that most of the lifeblood of this team does come through the run game, but I also know that left tackle spot's pretty filled. I'm going to show some more love to Anton Harrison here. I do think that he is a very talented offensive lineman and certainly somebody who I personally would want on my team. Yeah, he fell a little bit because he let up a couple pressures versus Kansas State, but you know what? He's super consistent. He also has that versatility. I personally think that's a great option for the team to continue building through the offensive line. Pick number 10, the Chicago Bears. They need offensive line. They need receiver. They need everything. So I'm going to give him the best receiver in the class, and I think that's now by a good margin. It's Quentin Johnston. He's taken a big step up. He's a big X wide receiver, exactly what Justin Fields needs. That's exactly who I want to get for someone like Justin, who he has a hard time processing. If you want to throw the ball up to somebody who has ungodly hands, that's a perfect place to do so. Pick number 11, the Falcons. Again, for me, I think we've seen what happens when you don't have a good corner two. It's down to corner 2, edge rusher, but I think Garrett Williams, perfect fit. I think this guy's a monster. You can go Christian Gonzalez here, but I'm going to go Garrett Williams. Super fast, super dynamic. He had a thigh bruise this past week if you guys were watching and couldn't find him, so he couldn't play, but Garrett Williams, man, that guy's incredible. You do now really do see like how vulnerable you are and how A.J. Terrell-centric your defense is in terms of the pass game. Letting up 450 yards, definitely not something to be very proud of, but with Garrett Williams and A.J. Terrell, that's another no-fly zone. Pick number 12, via San Francisco, the Dolphins are on the board, and this is a position where you can draft whoever the hell you want. Again, you got defensive interiors, you got linebackers, you have corners, but also Will Levis is on the board, and I do think he slips a little bit, has a lot of crazy, I know people are saying he could be a number 1 pick. Let's just be real here. I've talked with NFL front offices. They have not even finalized anything in terms of what they're looking for in the draft. Let's get off our high horses saying that, a lot of people are saying this guy's going to be the number 1 pick. They haven't even scouted his ass yet. They have a guy who goes there and watches the game. Awesome. They have not looked at him in depth yet. So let's get off the hype train. Let's keep it a little bit real here. But if you're Miami and you lost a first-round pick, hell yeah, I'm going to want to trade back. I mean, dude, this team is balling out right now. And there's Will Levis on the board. I can see the Colts making a big move up here. And I think that's the best thing for the team. And of course, absolutely they do not offer them as a team that is interested. Because PFF is, let's just be polite, garbage. So we'll find them. We'll find them. So the Colts are here. Again, you have 2 second-round picks. And let's look at the chart right now. Let's see how it goes. So for pick number 12, it's value at 1,200 points. And when you look at pick number 16, it is 1,000. So it's a 200-point differential, which is great because that is approximately the value of a third-round pick. And given the fact that the Colts do not have a third, I think it's a good option to throw in that second and toss in the Miami Dolphins third-round pick via New England. So you could do it via New England, because, again, that's about 100 points. So you're getting a little bit more value with that pick 47, and then you're having to balance it out with that pick 87. So, therefore, I'm going to, of course, it accepted the trade. Hallelujah. I forgot to say force. They're going to be moving up for Will Levis. It's time to get a quarterback. You need to do what you need to do, and it's worth taking the risk. Pick number 13 with the Cardinals. I think this is a great spot for them to be in because you can go anywhere. You can go offensive line. You can go corner. You can go linebacker. Like, this is a good spot for Trent Simpson to potentially go. But I don't know if I'm ready to do that just yet. Again, I do think cornerback, defensive interior, edge rusher, all those should be on the board. The entire defense should be on the board, to be fair. I do think corner wouldn't be a bad option. But Christian Gonzalez is the only guy who's coming to mind that I would like here. Again, there's rumors about Bijan. I'm not going to take Bijan. I love him, but the fact is this running back class is awesome. Linebacker, there are some good guys who I really want to consider here, but it's number 13. Low value position. Honestly, it's starting to become a very deep class, and it's not very top heavy. So I'd feel comfortable maybe looking for that in a second. Center, ain't no way in hell I'm doing that right now. Ain't no way in hell I'm going after John Michael Schmitz. So I'm pretty much left with going after a corner, going after a linebacker, and I'm going to go after a corner. Brian Branch is awesome, but the fact is I like Myles Murphy. Oh, wait, no, just kidding. Byron Murphy to be in that slot role. Therefore, it's not Noah Daniels. It's going to be Christian Gonzalez. And my God, I am praying PFF goes and just updates this roster just so we can have more dudes to select. Pick 14, Washington, another team that could definitely use either a quarterback or a corner. You guys might be getting sloppy seconds. But there are still some good guys on the board. I want to look at other positions. Linebacker especially, I might just be wanting to go balls to the wall and just end up going after Trent Simpson and just saying, hey, if it happens, it happens. Defensive line, never a concern. To be fair, Brian Branch would be quite fun. I know you guys might want a boundary, but I mean, Brian Branch also had a lot of holds. So let's not get on top of him just yet. But, I mean, offensive line is something you guys have been saying is a legit concern. I'm going to do it. We're going to go Paris Johnson. Not mistaken, you have Cornelius Lucas on only 2 more years of his contract. He's getting older. Paris Johnson can play guard as well. That's what I really love about him. You just plug him and play him wherever that you guys want to. I think that's a good move for him. Pick 15, the Packers are here. And I don't know if I want to go a wide receiver for him just yet, but Jordan Addison is on the board. I don't know if I can do that. I don't. I mean, we could trade for Chase Claypool and get the Steelers' second-round pick. That would be quite fun. We'll do that another mock. We'll see. Trade deadline's next week. So should we throw some trades in here? That'd be kind of fun. We should. Let's have a little bit of fun here. So the Packers are trading with the Pittsburgh Steelers for where's he at? Chase Claypool. And I don't think that they'll offer the first. But you could go after Chase in a second. The Steelers could move up with that and be able to select an offensive tackle. That would not be a bad idea. Because I think the Steelers wouldn't mind doing that. This is going to be crazy. I know y'all are going to hate this one, man. I know. We'll get another wide receiver in the second anyways. Just really good ones. But we're going to do this trade with the Steelers. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Again, I know that it's not going to be super realistic to trade up to 15 with Chase Claypool in the second. But there are rumors that a first is involved. And you know what? I'm giving you guys a huge benefit of the doubt by saying, hey, the Steelers, yeah, we're going to just absolutely disregard that, and we're going to send a second-round pick along with him for it. Appreciate the fact that you guys will have 2 picks in the next round. So with this, yeah, you could go wide receiver, but the Steelers are just ballers at being able to draft them. Tackle is what I want to look at. Javon Foster is the guy who I want to go with. That's a dream. Foster as well as Ringo. Let's continue on. Pick 16, we are back. Via San Francisco and Indianapolis right here. I think tight end would be interesting. But, We could go right tackle here. Broderick Jones is still on the board. I think I'm going to go with him. I think I am. My fear is at an all-time high, but I think that if you have Teron Armstead there, it's going to be a good mentor. This is going to be Jordan Addison. I do love Jordan Addison, wide receiver 2 on my board. But, his injury was not significant. He's still a really good player. I just don't really see that many teams that desperate for a wide receiver. The Bengals sitting here, I think offensive guard needs to be the priority. Again, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. This team needs to live through their offense because their defense has been doing a very good job anyway. Pick 19, again, I'm going to be a little bit boring here. We're going to go Bijan Robinson, but this team needs something to go right their way. We're going to be going with it. The Lions, we traded back, and we ended up getting Jalen Carter as well as a bunch of picks, which is great. For me, I want to look at wide receiver. I want to look as well at probably Antonio Johnson. And I'm going to spoil it. I'm probably going to go Antonio Johnson. This has been my lock pick for a while. I think Antonio Johnson is the Swiss Army knife, and it's going to be kind of the guy to unlock the defense. So we're going Antonio Johnson. I know, same old, but got to keep it at least fun and realistic. Pick 21, the Chargers back on the board. And again, I think this team could definitely look at being able to upgrade at the wide receiver position. Jackson Smith and Jigba's here. Your team obviously has thrived with these guys who are not as fast, but really good separators with good hands. I think it's a great option to continue giving Justin Herbert the guy he needs. Again, deep threats can always be found later on. Pick number 22, the Ravens are on the board, and I'm dying because honestly, I want to take edge rushers, and there really hasn't been the opportunity to do so because I have 2 guys who I would have in my top 15, and this is not the team to take them to. So I'm dying, inside. But this is a great spot for a corner. I think that has to be the lock for the first round. Brian Branch would be fun, but Cam Smith is just too perfect of a fit. He's kind of like one of those guys who I also am like, if he's on the board, I'm taking him for the Ravens. Pick 23, Seattle's back, and this is where I'm going to take my first edge rusher for the team. Again, we've already gone after, if I'm not mistaken, a corner. Joey Porter, love it. And this one is not going to be any of the guys on the board. And I want to introduce this man because I thoroughly believe that he is better than Jared Verse. And I have Jared Verse in my top 10. This guy is not talked about by anyone, but my Discord people know exactly who I'm talking about. His name's Isaiah McGuire. He is an edge rusher out of Missouri. And this is the man who made me question my love for Broderick Jones. He made Broderick Jones look awful. And it wasn't that Broderick Jones was playing poorly. It was the fact that Isaiah McGuire had unbelievable push. He had unbelievable moves. And the fact is, he already flashed the finesse, and he already brought the power. And he played the run very well. He's able to shed blocks. This guy, again, this is a newfound love because I saw him. I wrote him down. I'm like, hey, I need to watch this guy in depth. He is incredible. I'm a huge fan. So I think that he's going to have that Jermaine Johnson treatment. That is the perfect team to pick him up. He's going to be he's 275 pounds, so he's a big-ass dude. He's going to be there with Boye Mafe, creating a nasty front there for the Seattle Seahawks. Trent Simpson's a great option as well. I just needed to put this guy in the first. Pick 24, this could technically be Trent Simpson as well. I would love to take him for the Titans, but let's hold off that for a second because on the offensive line, you still do have some guys here like Darnell Wright, who I absolutely love. I would kind of want to be able to put him in this situation, but again, you don't need to necessarily do that. When you look at the defense, again, I'd be primarily targeting linebacker at this point. You have a lot of money invested into the edge rushers. I kind of want to continue stiffening that defense, but wide receiver, again, you might want to get those guys for Malik Willis to be able to get open to. Guys who are available, Justin Shorter, I'm a huge fan of. Xavier Hutchinson's a baller. I don't know if that's exactly worth the first round pick for the team. So I'm going to just take somebody who has a super high ceiling, who deserves it. That's going to be Trent Simpson out of Clemson. Again, somebody who's just been on the uprise, so big fan of him. The Jets are on the board, and it's another team that could use a linebacker, could use a tackle, and I'm going to go after it. It's not Zion Nelson. It's Darnell Wright. Played left tackle, played right tackle. He's been playing very well. He had a second-round grade from me in the beginning, and then he ended up switching to right tackle and still balling out there. Love that versatility. That's going to bring him up a couple notches. That's easily worth a late first-round pick. Pick 26, the Cowboys are on the board, and I did this before. I did this in the last one. I'm doing it again. It's none of these linebackers. And I want to say this because it is honestly what I believe. There's a man named Jacoby Windman who is he's an edge rusher for Michigan State, but he moved to linebacker. And I know I've talked to a lot of people. Nobody really believes in him the way I do. The elite movement skills, the pass rusher foundation, and the fact is he has really damn good coverage. That all makes me believe that if you put him in the right situation, this guy is going to be a star in the NFL. And when you have Micah Parsons as he's kind of my comp in more like a Walmart version of Micah. But when you have Micah Parsons, when you have Dan Quinn, those are the two pieces that I am dying for to make this player like a boom, like an absolute monster. I think he's going to test out of his mind at the combine. Jacoby Windman is the pick. Like, again, you want to have somebody who's going to be an absolute franchise guy. That's going to be it. Pick 27, we have the Vikings on the board, and they could use, honestly, anything. Quarterback, not out of the equation. I wouldn't say it's in the equation. Wide receiver, certainly something I do want to look at. But y'all know me. I'm going to go corner here. And I do love my Tyreek Stevenson. But have we gone Christian Gonzalez yet? I think we have. I'm pretty sure we have. I remember taking Noah Daniels. Yeah. So Christian Gonzalez is off the board. I really do think that corner is a necessity for this team. You have to take one. Tyreek Stevenson has been my guy for you guys for a long time. It's where I'm going to continue. Pick number 28, the Chiefs. I've been doing this quite a lot, and I do think Brian Bryce definitely could be worth it. But I would say hold your horses on Brian Bryce being that much of a stud. I do think this defense interior class is very overrated, but he's certainly definitely worth the pick. Pick 29, the Giants. I mean, again, I do think that Tanner McKee could be a really good option here. I think Anthony Richardson should be a good option here. But there are legit concerns about Anthony Richardson coming out. So I'm going to do this for the first time. I am going to pretend like Anthony Richardson is going to return, and therefore he's not going to be drafted in this to make things interesting. And therefore, there's some top-tier edge rushers on the board. I would be very, very, very excited if I'm any of these teams looking for an edge rusher. One of those is right here with the Carolina Panthers, who already traded up. But again, you have this pick here, and I'm like honestly feeling pretty good about going an edge rusher. I want to go after a guy who could be worth a top 10 pick. So let's quickly look over here at the values, and this is what pick number 29 valued at 640, pick number 34 valued at 560. So it's approximately close enough to a 100-point differential. Therefore, it's worth a third-round pick. So let's see. Oh, here we go. First team that is involved. And again, I don't want to go after the San Francisco 75. Let's look at 98. 98 has a 108-point value. Therefore, I think that's a really good option to go with. You could end up throwing Arizona's 7th in there just for fun. I don't think the Giants really need much. They need a linebacker. Like, that's probably where I go, linebacker or corner. And I'm not really happy with those options at this moment, given the fact that I can get somebody really good. Later on, I had a third-round pick, which I can use that way as well. Therefore, I'm going right here, and I'm going to be drafting Jared Verse, another FSU edge rusher, to add to Brian Burns to make another nasty duo. No, I'm not drafting Nolan Smith in the first 2 rounds. Pick number 30, we have the Buffalo Bills, and this is my absolute wet dream for them, Brian Branch, stud. Pick number 31, ending off the first round, the Eagles. And we've already gotten, God forbid, like Will Anderson, kill me now, but again, you look at Howie, running back is a potential option. I don't know if he gets off Miles Sanders because it's been pretty damn successful. I do think a corner 2 certainly should be in the works. Eli Ricks, I do think he actually comes out. He finally started playing reps again. 10 targets, 1 completion. And I think he had like 4 or 5 pass breakups. It might have been even more than that. Big fan. And I think he fits this team really well. And I'm thinking that he does slip to about this point because of the fact he hasn't played very much this year. He might return, but for the first time, I feel comfortable saying, hey, this guy's starting to go off. He's starting to pick up steam. And honestly, I think that's good enough to put him into the first. Let me know what you guys think. Stay tuned for round 2 another day. See you on the far side.